Eu vi você falar em março, as nossas aulas começam em agosto, né?
Ah, mas você, Gabriel, é da terceira turma. Ela é da segunda turma, junto com a turma da Cecília Vergara e tal.
Tá bom, tá bom.
São turmas diferentes. Bom, agora que a gente está gravando, vou entrando então para o inglês. Welcome everyone, good evening to all of you, and welcome back to our Blind Tuesday tasting. And now we are moving into South America. We'll be exploring South American wines, and tonight is our first tasting out of 3 tastings, and we'll be comparing 2 white wines. And the question that you are facing with those wines are, what are the traditional grape varieties that you can, traditional grape varieties and traditional winemaking you can identify into those 2 wines. So it's quite common for WSET to have a question that you've got to answer. You will never tasting blind. So those questions are not coming out of nothing, out of nowhere. So you know that those wines are coming from South America. And what they are trying to identify, what they are requiring from you is to identify what the traditional grape variety or traditional winemaking that you can identify on those 2 wines. So when we think of traditional grape varieties, you sometimes are mistaken and you go into either Chardonnay or either Sauvignon Blanc or either, I don't know, Torrontés. But sometimes you have to rethink, read again, and have a second thought with regards to the question. Sometimes the question is not that clear, not that simple sometimes. So we have selected 2 traditional varieties that have commonly been planted, cultivated in South America. And now what you have to, in order for you to access those wines and to answer that question, you need to go back into the history of those 2 countries. So think that you're sitting D3. So you probably have been through all the history of those 3 countries, which is basically Chile, Argentina, and a tiny little bit of Uruguay. I'm afraid Brazil is yet not important. It's not part of the common syllabus. So who can help me with the first wine, which in fact I'm tasting for the first time now with you guys? Mm-hmm. Anyone? You can start by saying it's a white wine. That helps.
It's a white wine. Color is lemon. I found it pale, though very bright, with medium plus intensity, primary aromas, ripe fruits, tropical fruits like pineapple and lychee. Is that how you pronounce it? Lychee?
Lychee, yeah.
Lychee. Mainly.
So do you think it's a young wine or it's developing wine? Tell me more about the nose. What do you get? Is there any winemaking technique that you can access from this wine?
It has, I'm sorry.
No, please.
Go ahead.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I don't feel anything that would direct me to a particular kind of winemaking. For me, it's a very rich wine in the sense of a lot of intensity, but with primary aromas. I wouldn't say it's from this year, perhaps, but it's not aging. And in my assessment, I thought it was not suitable for aging. I think it's great as it is right now. Please, Gabriel.
I was going to say that I felt that this wine has spent some time with Elise.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Eloisa with the pineapple, but it's a very ripe pineapple. And I also felt some tertiary aromas like almonds, which would tell me that this wine is not a young wine. It's an aged wine. And that's it for now.
Mm-hmm. All right. Does anybody would like to approach the palate of the wine, the dryness, the alcohol level, the intensity, perhaps conclusion?
I can. It's a dry wine, and it has a high acidity for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the alcohol is even medium in the most high level, or even a high alcohol. I put high alcohol, and a medium body, and a medium flavor intensity, and in the nose, in the mouth, it has the same aromas. I felt a lot of citrus aromas in the nose and also in the mouth, and also apple, pineapple, and some spice, some pepper. The aromas in the mouth, they are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And a medium finish. And now it looks like it even have some wood, because I can feel some cinnamon that I didn't felt before in the nose.
Very good. And with regards to quality, what would you say?
It's a good wine. I'm always in doubt it would be good for bottle aging, because it has a lot of aromas and has a good acidity, a good body. I would say it's not good for age, but I'm in doubt.
Mm-hmm.
It has a long finish.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me it's a medium finish, because what I felt was just the bitter taste at the end. The aromas disappeared very quickly.
Right. And if you you have a question to answer. Those two wines are coming from traditional grape varieties planted in South America. So you're tasting the wine so far, saying, that's high acidity, that's this and that, oak and this and citrus and so on. How can you link that to a grape variety? Because for those, there is no one here from, I guess. Sorry, Poliana and Thiago, they're back. So there is no one here that has sat the examination, the D4. I presume only George has done it. Not sure whether Poliana has done it. But it's important for you to use the elements that you find in a glass to say, oh, because of these, the high acidity, or because the aromatics, or because of the tannins, therefore it's Cabernet Sauvignon. So if you have a question related to, for example, production method, so you should be able to say, well, this is a traditional sparkling wine because of the lees, the autolysis, the high acidity, whatever. You need to get something from the glass in order to answer the question. So what sort of grape variety, what can you use from the description of this wine to say, well, I guess it's that grape variety? Hello?
I thought the acidity is not so high. In fact, I thought the acidity to be medium to medium minus, and the alcohol high instead. So if I was going to argue, for example, as you said, that we have to link everything, and I am arguing, for example, that I have white variety, very ripe fruits, high alcohol from a warm climate, since it's very rich, and not so much acidity. If I was thinking, it's very aromatic. The finish for me, it's medium plus because it stays a lot in your mouth. If I think about two aromatic varieties in South America, I would have to think about Torrontés or Sauvignon Blanc.
Mm-hmm.
But Sauvignon Blanc doesn't have this kind of, can have tropical fruit in warm climates. But in Chile, they usually go for a more cool climate style.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to take a guess, I would say a very well done Torrontés.
Are we talking
but I
about
don't
the
know.
same wine? I have two wines right in front of me. One is like a pale green
color.
sort of thing, and the other one is kind of yellowish.
Yes.
One is very aromatic and the other is non-aromatic.
For me,
Yeah,
this
I
one is
found both of
number
them very
one.
aromatic.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay. So you're not mistaking. Good.
No.
Okay.
It's the
Because
number
of
one.
the acidity, I would not consider Argentina because unless the acidity was corrected, adjusted, which could be possible, I would go to Chile.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Elo about the acidity and the high alcohol, but for me, it's not an aromatic variety. It's initially I think about Chardonnay. It's work well with malolactic, with some oak, probably I thought, but I didn't think about Torrontés, even Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
Okay.
And for,
Gabriel, you mentioned about the acidity, and because there is high acidity, you wouldn't be on Argentina, you'd be on Chile. Think about Chardonnay from Adriana Vineyards, Catena. I mean, this is a crying out loud high acidity.
Yeah.
Think on high altitude on Argentina. But having said that, we know that those two wines are coming from South America, and they're not asking you to say, oh, this is Argentina or this is Chile. They're asking you, what's the grape variety? And each grape variety is traditional from one country.
There's a background noise there.
Yeah. Does anybody has a party on the background? If you can mute yourself. Is it you, Cecilia?
No, for sure it's not
Let me
me.
see.
Okay, good.
But I can mute myself.
Oh.
Okay, now better now. Thank you.
So, let's think. Well, does anybody else would you like to comment on the wine? Poliana, would you like to comment on the first wine with regards to aromas, acidity, so where are you, your descriptors?
Okay. For me, it is medium plus acidity, medium body, with some notes of malolactic fermentation, tropical fruits such as pineapple. There is a lemon too, and medium finish too.
Okay. Would you be able to say what traditional grape variety it is from South America? Would you guess?
Oh wow, a Chardonnay.
Is Chardonnay a traditional grape variety from South America?
Yeah.
Well.
Yes.
yes,
Well,
it has it is everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Okay.
I think
Let me
South
ask you
America
something.
doesn't have a traditional white grape variety. because South America produces wine, I think, only 400 years, 300 years. So doesn't has a traditional, but some places like Argentina and Chile produces more Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay. In Argentina, Torrontés too, but to say traditional.
Okay, Thiago, would you mind sharing
Is Torrontés
your tasting notes of the first wine? Sorry, Gabriel, I just wanted to hear him out.
Oh, sorry, I'm just catching everyone. I didn't hear the tasting of the other people that are attending this session, so I can be redundant or very different from you. All right, from me, from the start, medium cold, medium plus to pronounced nose, floral that I cannot identify, orange peel, peach, apricot, pineapple, honey, and the nose indicates that this wine has skin contact, more skin contact than usually in the white wines in general. And the palate, the wine is dry, medium plus acidity, medium alcohol, medium to medium plus body, medium intensity of flavor, same characteristics on the mouth, then again, skin contact, malolactic conversion, old barrels. There's a creamy texture. The finish is medium plus, and quality for me is very good. And I'm not sure the wine is drinking well now, but I'm not sure about the aging potential of this wine.
I'm right on with him. And it's very interesting because Elo said something, we're going in totally different directions, everyone,
Yes,
regarding acidity, regarding alcohol.
What he described for me is the second wine, which is golden. It's a golden color.
The second wine, just advancing in the second wine, the wine is golden than the first wine. The second wine also has skin contact. And
Skin contact.
Both for me, both of wines are made with skin contact. But the second one, the nose it has a little funky nose that is characteristic for some skin contact wines, and I tasted some Sauvignon Blanc that has this funky nose, but I not advancing in the second wine, but the first wine for me is Chardonnay. The second wine, I'm not sure which one they were.
I have a question.
One question.
Is Torrontés a variety that is suitable for aging?
Yeah, there are some Torrontés that are okay aged that they sell after 5 years in the market.
And they actually have like 2 or 3 types of Torrontés. Yeah. I guess that you wouldn't choose one of the weird ones, or the Torrontés Riojano or whatever, right? No. Okay.
No, I wouldn't.
So it's probably a Chardonnay that's...
I don't think that Torrontés is a wine made for aging. I mean, it can, but I don't think it's a wine made for aging because of the aromatics and so on. Okay, so I see that we are lost. We are not lost. We're just not considering, not having a broader view and considering what other options we have on the table. So the way that I see this wine, which in fact is quite delicious. So yummy. I think it's pale lemon, the color. It has a medium intensity nose. And it's tropical. So like peachy and pineapple and nectarine. But he also has this sort of citrus, which I wouldn't go for lemon. I would go for skin lemon skin. I would go for grassy. So it has this sort of grapefruit and citrus skin and grassiness to the aromas. Then it comes to the lees contact, which comes in a form of walnuts and Brazil nuts. So it's quite nutty, but I know it's coming from least contact. There's a little bit of oak to it, like a new oak or second use oak, which is more of a little bit of vanilla, but not in a very sweet way. It's not that sweet, but it does say, you know, it's a little bit of oak. And it does has this sort of oxidative way or oxidative nose, or I wouldn't go for oxidative aromas, but for me, it's like it's very integrated. So it shows some use of old oak to the nose because of, you know, the spiciness of the aroma. The oak is not just, it's not there, but it does show some use of oak. So I guess because it's not intrusive to the nose, it's not quite new. So I presume they're using different kinds of oak. That's what I'm getting. So it's a wine that has primary, secondary aromas, not tertiary. So I presume it's like up to 5 years old. So if I was to say anything, I'll say, you know, it's 2017, 2016, 2018, but 17, 16 is more or less where we are. But the intensity is medium, you know, that there's very good intensity of aromas, very good concentration right here. So for someone to spend time and effort, you know, old oak, new oak, least contact, a little bit of malo, the quality of the grapes are probably very good because they're spending energy here, you know, they're working here. And then for me, it's a dry wine with beautiful medium plus creamy body, very good texture, very, you know, quite rich. But medium alcohol, like a 13.5, 13.2, 13.7, you know, medium, still within medium. We don't feel the alcohol. So I don't think it's a wine that's coming from a warm, really warm climate. I think it's a wine coming from some sort of a moderated climate. It could be from altitude, it could be from ocean breeze, or, you know, anything. But, you know, there is a difference, a moderation here between day temperature and cool nights. That's what I'm thinking when I'm what I'm tasting. Definitely high acidity, at least medium plus. You know, it's a acid wine. And then it has this creamy lees richness to the texture of the wine, which is interesting because you know that it's coming from lees, you know that it's coming from sort of a malo conversion. It's important for you to understand where the creaminess is coming from. So from the breakage of the lees contact of, you know, the lees cell, the yeast cell, it adds some richness to the wine, some creaminess. It's not the richness from the fruit, concentration of the fruit, and it's not the richness from the oak. So it's definitely richness coming from the nutty and the lees. I think it's medium concentration, but at least medium plus finish. If you go for high, we are in the same path. I doubt it. I don't think that the finish, the long finish, is coming from the fruit. It's more coming from the secondary work, you know, the oak and the lees and the malo, than actually from the fruit. But hey, you know, there is very good finish, long finish. And, you know, I agree with, so I think it's toasty, nutty, and richness as the back palate that I get.
Now,
I
do
agree
you
with
think
you.
the nutty side of the wine comes from the 5 or 6 years of aging, or the surli process?
I think that the surli process, I think it's more of a surli and batonnage as opposed to development, the aging, the bottle development. I don't think that it has long bottle development yet. So I agree with Thiago, thinking, you know, there is different barrels, old barrels, and I agree. I think it's a very good wine, but I think it could develop. It's not drinking well now, but I think it has the high acidity. It has the integration of fruit and alcohol. It has concentration of fruit. It has a long finish. Why not aging? So I think it does has aging potential. I think it's a very good quality wine. But let's go back to the question. What's the grape variety? You know, moderated alcohol, well, dry, moderated alcohol, high acidity. Citrus and tropical at the same time. It is a quality grape variety. Why? Well, because it has affinity to oak, it has affinity to malo, it has affinity to least contact. If it wasn't a quality grape variety, so that's an indication. If it wasn't a quality grape variety, they wouldn't age, you know, they wouldn't waste time on lease. They probably wouldn't do all this sort of work that they did in a winery to produce a more round and fuller wine. Okay. And it wouldn't have all this concentration to the mouthfeel. So therefore is a high quality grape variety. So which grape varieties that we know that it's high in quality, it's a high quality grape variety, it has affinity to oak, it can produce high acid wines, and is not aromatic, because I said medium intensity, it's not the aromatic. There are not many. Which ones are they?
Semillon.
Chardonnay.
Chardonnay is one of them. Semillon is another one. What else do we know?
Riesling.
But Riesling is aromatic. Okay, moderated climate. What grape varieties can strive in moderated climate? I want to hear more.
Could I say Viognier too?
Viognier, it's aromatic. This is non-aromatic. And Viognier doesn't have high acidity at all.
Chenin is aromatic.
Pardon?
Chenin Blanc.
Chenin Blanc is another good call. I mean, you could argue that the intensity is medium plus. You could argue saying that, you know, because of the least content and contrary oak, it has surpassed the aromatics. You could. And but you have high acidity.
It's not a traditional variety in South America.
Yeah, it's not highly planted in South America. So go back to the question, say, you know, tradition in South America.
Semillon.
So Semillon is a well-known planted grape variety in which country in South America? Argentina. Right. So now they want you to say, where in Argentina, where would you go for? Where did the immigrants arrive and planted the first vines? You know, Mendoza. Okay. And if you were to say, you know, but high acidity and the alcohol, it's not that high. So would it be on the main floor?
Vale do Uco.
You know how, you know, when you know the region, when you know the areas, when you go back to the quality, when you pay attention on every single detail on the wine, it becomes very clear to you where the wine goes to. It's not a guessing game anymore. You have arguments and you can say, you know, because of the moderated alcohol and the high acidity and so on and so on, I would go for somewhere that is not that hot, that's not that warm, therefore not the main Mendoza floor, so it's probably on high altitude. Therefore, I'd go for Vale de Uco rather than Mendoza Valley floor. So it's important for you to understand the clues that the wine is giving to you. So you're never tasting half blind. You're never tasting full blind. You're tasting half blind, as long as you are able to understand. To mark down the little details of the wine. So that's the idea when you pick a wine, a select wine. They have little details that are able to interpret and write down about it. It's an exercise. So we have our first guess. We believe that is Semillon. Have we tasted a Semillon before? From Australia? Come on, guys.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
whereabouts? We had a box from Australia and we had a Semillon. Come on. Okay, we had Tyros from Hunter Valley, Semillon. Remember? Okay, so go back to your notes from that Hunter Valley Semillon. and see the differences between them?
Usually the alcohol is medium minus or low.
Yeah,
It's
there's
not.
no medium minus, so it's probably it was low.
Yeah,
okay, good guess. What a good call. What else? How about acidity?
To be higher.
High.
Yeah, higher.
Because is it because of climate or is it because of the grape variety on itself? It has natural high acidity.
No, it's because it's an early harvest.
Well, early harvest explain low alcohol. The high acidity is part of the natural high acidity of the grape variety. Okay? Makes sense? It's a grape variety that has natural high acidity. If you say Chardonnay, high acidity, therefore Chardonnay, you have to think, does moderated climate makes high acidity Chardonnay? There are not many places that you have moderated climate that has high acidity Chardonnay. So strategic and critical thinking, it's very important here because you're talking about moderated climate. Usually Burgundy moderated climate usually makes a medium plus acidity. I had a medium plus to higher acidity. So, you know, be sure where you're standing. Be sure that you're not contradicting yourself through your tasting notes and your argument. Okay, right. So let's move on to the second wine, and then we unblind both wines. Who can help me with the second wine? I'll be using two different glasses here because I'm trialing new Riedel glasses for the 2021 partnership. So just try to understand which one is better. You can start by saying it's a white wine. That helps to start.
And it's a pale gold. This is darker than the other one.
Wouldn't you say it's medium? Medium gold?
But I think it's gold.
I think gold is the color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or orange is the color, but you know, gold is the color. Yeah.
Gold is the color, yes.
And this one is an aromatic grape because it's like a lot of flower, jasmine, lychee, and ripe fruits, peach, some spice. And it also has a smoke aroma. And I felt something weird that reminds me as gorgonzola, blue cheese, that might be from the East. And some fruit melon and pineapple. So for me, it has a broad quantity of aromas.
I felt honey, honey from orange flowers.
Okay.
I think this is an aged wine. I feel some tertiary. The characteristics are tertiary aromas.
I agree with Thiago when he said before that this one also has skin contact, because I feel honey and lychee, as Ligia said, but nutmeg and dried orange peel, all these aromas that I associate with pellicular maceration. So I think it has stayed a while with the skins.
Yeah, I agree. But usually skin contact, you can say, you know, because of the color, skin contact. The skin contact, but the color is one indication. But the development of the color could come from many reasons, even oxidation. But skin contact, usually you should link with tannin texture. Can you feel any tannins to the wine? That's a very good indication for skin contact, if you're able to pick that up.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Can feel it very clearly.
I can feel some tannins, but I think it's more on the side of primary fruit, like star fruit, passion fruit, maybe grassy.
Some dried herbs, maybe
Dry
like,
herbs, okay.
yes, thyme or chamomile.
Okay,
There's also
right.
some minerality on this one.
I felt something that I associated with something oily like petroleum, you know, that kind of minerality.
Are you saying a sort of oily texture? Is that where you
Yes,
go? Okay.
yes, but also the taste itself. It's something that I rarely found. Maybe that's something that, as Thiago said, it's a little funky. It's difficult to identify because it's not usual.
Now, the acidity is not very high on this wine. I would say it's a medium acidity.
Are you sure? Keep your mouth open. Taste it and... Right. Thiago, I want to hear your comments from top to bottom.
For me, the second one is difficult than the first wine. The nose, I at first I put gold tip, but listening to everybody, I changed it to medium gold. No, medium plus to the nose, to I think medium plus. Like I said before, I can in the nose. This wine is difficult for me, like dry herbs, like some floral notes that I could not identify. There are some citrus, lychee, like Ligia said. In the nose, I couldn't smell oak in the nose. The wine is dry. Medium plus acidity, medium alcohol, medium body, medium to medium plus body, medium flavor intensity. Like I said, there's some texture that comes from the skins. There we can feel some tannins, low tannins in the mouth. I could say that even for white wine, if it has skin contacts, I could pinpoint. I think I could pinpoint the tannins. The finish is shorter than the first one. The finish is medium. I could not say the variety. I have no clue. This wine is quality, very good too, but I'm not sure again about the aging potential. I have no idea. Sincerely, I have no idea about the aging potential.
Okay, all right. Who buys this wine?
This wine, I think it's not it's not sold in the traditional markets. It's sold in specialized retail stores. It's not a wine that usually
Why does it sell on a specialized shop?
Because of the characteristics of this wine. It's not what everyone thinks about white wine. It's not what everyone expects about a white wine. So usually, if you tend to Chardonnay, I expect some creaminess, some oak taste, so oak notes, some citrus or stone fruit characteristics, like if you're trying to traditional Chardonnay. If you're expecting Sauvignon Blanc, you expect pronounced nose, citrus fruit, or grass nose and grass mouth, high acidity. So this wine is not for I could say the common drinker. It's for the more developed drinker. That's why it's not usually sold in the traditional markets, but in specialized shops.
It's not an easy drinking wine.
Thiago, how do you say in English that sensation that usually Vinho Verde gives you in the tongue? Because I felt something
sparkling, tingling, yeah.
Tingling,
sparkling,
yes, in my tongue.
or tingling,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, something like that.
Say that again.
Tingling.
Tingling. Yeah, tingling.
Tingle, from tingle, tingling.
Yeah, tingling. George, would you like to hear your full tasting note on this wine? Please.
Okay. I think the color is medium gold. The nose, the intensity is medium plus. The aroma characteristics, I feel some star fruit, passion fruit, some peach, orange, and some grass, like yeah, some grass. It's a little grassy. On the palate, I think the wine is dry. The acidity, is medium, no tannins. The alcohol, I don't know very well, but maybe low alcohol. I don't know if low or medium. I'm between low and medium. The body is medium, flavor intensity medium, and the finish is medium plus. I think the color of the wine is not completely clear, and I think there is some funky fruit aromas. It seems like it's a little bit like natural wine or something like that.
Voila! Oh, someone said it.
Yeah, it seems to me like a natural wine. And I think it's a good quality, and it's drink now, and it doesn't have potential for aging.
Jude, what do you think about it? Tell me. What grape variety? Tell me your tasting notes or your thoughts and grape variety. What could it be? What the hell is that?
For me, I have more difficult also with this wine. The main characters, in the beginning, I didn't felt in natural wine. For me, it's a dry, maybe to off dry wine, medium plus acidity, medium close to the limit, alcohol, medium body, and medium plus flavor intensity. And the fruit, like everyone said. Which variety?
Can you think?
I really don't know.
Okay. How was this wine made?
Can I ask you something, Thiago?
Sure.
You said when
Actually,
you said natural.
This question goes to you, winemaker. How this wine was made? Carry on.
It's not fair today. I've been working, yes, 12 hours a day for the last 5 days. I'm exhausted.
Poor
I can't
you.
even think.
Have a glass of wine on me. Poor you, poor thing. Come on, have a glass of wine.
Yeah, I was thinking if we can, in the exam, say something like, I think it's it's natural winemaking, because we don't have a clear concept of natural winemaking. You can have a lot of different things into natural winemaking. And I think like this funkiness we felt, this tingling in the palate, these are all consequences of the kind of winemaking it had.
Yeah.
It's probably they had a little oxygen exposure, a little oxidative process. I think they did on purpose. They probably didn't use a lot of SO2 if they used it at all, or other inert gases. But since the wine is very good, I think it comes from a high quality producer that has access to very good fruits in very good conditions. And they probably had, if they have natural, how do you say, when as leveduras são nativas.
Yeah.
You know, but they probably had, yes.
Natural yeast.
Yeah.
Yes, autochthonous yeast, but they probably used like stainless steel, temperature control, because you see that it's carefully made.
I agree, it's carefully made.
Even though it's natural, you don't see a lot of solids. I don't know if they filter it, but they
good point.
They clarify it because it's
good point. Do you think they did?
Right. Maybe they didn't filter it, but if they could have clarified it very well, you know, with sedimentation and temperature, because if you're selling a wine like this to other markets, it has to travel. It doesn't have any sediment. It's very stable. It seems to be very stable. And I think it's suitable for aging also.
You know, pour a little bit more wine into your glass and compare to the previous wine and see which one it's clear. I don't think they have filtered the wine. I don't think they have. I don't think they have filtered at all. I think it doesn't have sediments, but I think that it's unfiltered.
Yes.
It's unfiltered.
The first one is really bright.
Really bright. It's beautiful.
Really bright.
I would kiss it.
Yes.
I would drink it again.
Yes.
The second one is not that clear.
No.
Yeah, it's
If
not
you put it
completely
against
clear.
the light, you can see the solids.
Yeah, I see. It's
Against
there.
the light bulb. Yeah.
You see, look, it's important when you approach a wine and you smell the wine, it's important that you write the things that really sticks out to you. You need to be able, from your tasting notes, to gather information and say, oops, the wine was made that way. The wine was that grape variety. The wine is from this climate. The wine is from that corner of the world. So the way that you taste your wine, it has to be in such a way that you know the information that you gather from your tasting notes and answer the question. So perhaps my advice to you is read the question. does he has a question? So you guys that are going to go for the D4 classroom and the examination soon, before you ever taste the wine, go and say, you know, read the first question of wine 1. Perhaps the first question is about the winemaker, the winemaking process, the method, or the grape variety. And then as you taste the wine, you pay attention on the grape variety or how the wine was made, like lees contact and so on, autolysis. So it's unfair for the question falling into this wine saying, what's the grape variety, is unfair. But the winemaking technique is really fair. By the color, you may think, is it botrytis? Is it aged? No, it's definitely not botrytis, although it does have some orangey skin to it. Botrytis does have an orangey skin hint to it, but it's definitely not sweet. So, so it's difficult to find a varietal, but the color, it's telling you skin contact. The tannins, it's telling you skin contact. The haziness, or perhaps the color, you should be able to say perhaps it's unfiltered. So every time you're tasting the wine and you're thinking the wine, you have to answer a question to yourself: how this wine was made. So you're still not answering that question. When you go back to the first wine, you are able to answer a question that we haven't asked you, but you're able to say lees, oak, oxidative, and so what. You were able to say a lot of things. You're able to talk about climate, pineapple, and peach. So you were able to talk about the winemaking without us actually answering any question, because it never asked you a question on the first wine how the wine was made. But over here, the question was about grape variety. For me, it does has grape variety characteristics, but the more suitable question was about the winemaking. So let me do my full tasting. Let me share my tasting to you, and let me talk a little bit what comes to my mind with regards to this wine. I would argue and say this is pale gold, but medium gold makes sense. Make a lot more sense than pale gold, especially regards the solids. I think it's medium plus to pronounced intensity of aromas. It's telling me, Thiago, that's coming from a aromatic grape variety. As I'm doing my tasting, I'm sharing my tasting notes with you. I want you to write down 5 aromatic grape varieties that it comes to your mind. There are plenty more than 5, but you should be able to write down. Get your pen and write down 5 aromatic grape varieties that comes to your mind that you could relate to South America, and that's related to history. Okay, so orange skin is screaming to my nose, and then it comes from a rodum. It's quite rich, quite intense. So peach, flower, honey. That was a good call. But then there's another note. There's another aroma that stinks to me, which is more of related to natural wines, which is kind of VA, volatile acidity. Volatile acidity is screaming to me. So I know that is wild yeast. I know that is uncontrolled temperature, uncontrolled because of that. And also the skin contact wines usually has this volatile acidity quite intense to your nose, because they cannot control the acetaldehyde, which means the oxidation of the alcohol. It generates that. So, okay, it could be many things, but I'm guessing because of the color and because the orange skin and because the VA, the volatile acidity, I'll go towards the skin contact. It's a dry wine. It's medium body. It's medium alcohol. I think it's about 12. I might be wrong. It might be low. It might be 11, but I think it's about 12% alcohol. For me, it has screaming high acidity. Any natural wine that you taste, pay attention to acidity. They usually have high acidity, screaming high acidity. It doesn't matter the grape variety, but the way that they make the wine, especially if they're using natural yeast, it generates high acidity. And some natural yeast, they can consume a lot more sugar and still produce lower body alcohol and lower alcohol, lower body, and lower and high acidity and lower texture to the wine. So I find this wine very vertical, like a high acidity, lower body, lower alcohol. I think that this wine has, I would say, medium minus flavor intensity or concentration, and medium minus finish. I don't think it's high, long finish. I think long finish is the first wine. Beautiful. I don't think it has long finish. I think it has long acidity, high acidity. Taste the wine again. It doesn't last long. It's gone. It's just the acidity, and it's just the tingling thing, which is the VA in the middle of the mouth. Why do I think it's good rather than very good? I don't think it has intensity. I don't think it's controlled the VA. I don't think it's, there are far too many skin contact wines, organic, biodynamic, that doesn't have this volatile acidity. Nicolas Joly, just to mention one, okay? Just to mention one. You get the Levier Clos, the entry-level wine is way better. But I don't need to mention him. There's far too many others. Producers that use, that makes low intervention wines, natural wines, that doesn't have this VA. I think it's good rather than very good. Why do I think it's good rather than ordinary, like acceptable? I think it has very good, that it still has a varietal character. Usually natural wines doesn't keep the varietal character at all. They miss it. It becomes natural as opposed to Chardonnay or Pinot Noir, or, so on and so on. I think it still has a varietal character to it. I think the VA, it's one of the aromas and one of the flavors, but it's not the main one. You know, there's several flavors, several aromas here. So it's quite clean. It's not opulent. And I think overall it has balance. It has beauty. You know, the acidity is not just high, it's screaming high. The other things here, it doesn't have much texture, but it's still good balance. Again, it's still a vertical wine and a sort of a freezing wine, freezing, meaning quite delicate, quite, you know, quite weak in a sense. It's not that strong, it's not that opulent. And I think the most beauty of it is the flavors. Is the aromas overall. So I think the nose is more interesting than the palate. So that's why I still think it's good rather than acceptable or faulty. I think it's still good. So I'm rather good than very good and outstanding. And I agree with Thiago. I think it does require a specialist. It's a hand sale wine. Someone needs to explain the style, needs to explain a lot of things. So if you go for wine making technique, so they get the grapes, they usually steam the grapes, but you know, it could be a whole bunch. They press, there is a period of skin contact. And now you need to think how an orange wine is made or skin contact wine is made. Usually here it lasts for a week up to 3 months. So a month is usually common. And because the color, I don't think is more than a month of a skin contact. Then, you know, because of the cleanliness of the wine, I think they have racked the wine naturally by gravity and temperature control. I don't think they have used stainless steel at all, because stainless steel, you control the temperature, and because this funkiness, I don't think they have controlled the temperature. Therefore, where do they make this sort of wine? Fudris. So they probably come from amphora, thalia, no matter what you call it. So is the more common way that they use this wine. So you're saying amphora, it makes sense. So perhaps 1 month skin contact made in amphora, not oak at all. Oak doesn't combine with orange wine. And then probably they have not filtered the wine, so it's unfiltered, but they have racked the wine several times to come as clean as possible, because at the end of the day, it's quite clean, the wine, with regards to color. But if you look very careful, you see a tiny little bit of sediments. And then when you think of historical aromatic variety, what do you guys have? What would you write down for aromatic grape varieties from South America?
Sauvignon Blanc, Gewurz. Chenin Blanc, we don't have not much of those, but anyway, Chenin Blanc, what else? Moscatel,
Alvarinho.
Alvarinho.
Okay, so is it Alvarinho a common grape variety for South America?
Now in Uruguay now it's
no. Historically.
Viognier.
Think of high acidity. Alvarinho is high acidity, but Viognier is not high acidity.
No.
Okay, when you think of Torrontés, a good thing about New World countries is that they're not attached to any rules of winemaking, right? So they can be quite innovative. I have not tasted any Alvarinho or any Torrontés made in that style. But it won't take much longer until someone make an orangey, funky wine out of Torrontés. But Torrontés can be quite phenolic, and I don't feel this phenolic grip on here. I feel a tannin grip, but not phenolic. But we mentioned lychee. What great aromatic grape varieties are related to lychee? And we also mentioned white flower.
Gewürztraminer.
Gewürztraminer, so it can be quite a good call. What else? Muscadet. Okay, Muscadet. Yeah, those are two grape varieties. Does give us, well, it has high acidity. If you were to choose a grape variety, would you go for Muscat or Muscadet, Muscatel, or would you go for the other grape variety, like a Gewürztraminer? Does Gewürztraminer makes a high acid wines?
No.
Okay, so which one would you pick?
The last one, Sauvignon Blanc. I think it's Sauvignon Blanc. That remains.
But does Sauvignon Blanc makes a wine that has lychee and peachy and flower aromas?
No, not usually. Yeah.
Right. So between Gewürztraminer and Muscat, which grape variety would you pick? Which one of them has high acidity? Come on.
Muscat.
Higher Muscat.
Thanks God. Okay, yes, we are on the same page. So if
Thiago,
you want, yes.
This is really bothering me.
All right.
Do you know this is a natural wine for sure?
I think
because you're being so. Do you know which wine it is?
I don't know the wine. I never tasted the wine before. None of them.
Because it could be something else also. It could be some wine, a wine that was not well made, or
Right, but
I don't know.
Does this sort of medium gold orangey color is in line with a natural wine? Does the VA aroma is in line with natural wine?
Oh yeah.
Okay. There's a little bit of a texture, tannin texture, or texture on itself, a stringent texture, goes in line with a skin content wine or maybe a natural wine.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, because
but it could also be from one of these new artisan guys that make, I don't know.
Yeah, but usually
Okay, but can we have natural wines in the test? Can the exam have natural wines?
If there is a natural wine, the question is related to winemaking, how this wine was made. And then
So it is a possibility.
There is a possibility, yeah. And you're probably going to say, you know, low sulfur, fermented in many cement or in foodries and so on, amphoras and so on and so on. You know, there are several things that you could say about winemaking of this wine. You can say, you know, it was made by the filtering was made via sedimentation, because I can still see some sediments as opposed to filtering, because you know, the haziness of the color. You know, there are several ways, several things that you can gather from this wine and talk about the way the wine was made. And you can attach things from the glass to the winemaking. The color itself, you know, is an indication. It doesn't necessarily means, but is an indication that it has skin contact. The orange peel is an indication that it could be skin contact, because it's quite often you see that on orange wines or in natural wines. So the way the things that we gather from this wine could be related to one, grape variety and how the wine was made, and why. And that's one of the things, and that is one of the reasons why I think it's a cracking wine, it's a good wine. You know, I'm totally drinking this wine tonight. I'm totally drinking this wine tonight, and I'm keeping the first one for tomorrow, because I think you'll be drinking really well now, really well tomorrow. But hey, okay, what else can we say about this wine? Shall we unblind both wines? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
One at a time.
One at a time. First one.
Yeah.
What do we get? Balsa de Piedra, Vino de Villa, Tupungato. We didn't say Tupungato yet.
A Michelini.
And Semillon 2019. I thought that this wine was at least 17. Finca Minori. Okay, so it's a wine made from Semillon. And it's 100% Semillon, Mendoza, Argentina, Vino de la Villa. So it's not common wine, but it's coming from a grape variety that is seeing a revival in Argentina, and that started with Mendel, you know, replanting and reviving all their Mendel, all their Semillon old vines, and we see quite often they're popping up. Why this is not Chardonnay? Because Chardonnay is the easiest pick. High acidity, peach, but for me, the grassiness and the acidity has this sort of a hardness to it. It's quite hard, the acidity. The texture that can be quite hard. Whereas Chardonnay, it would be way more creamier, way more peachy, not that grassy, more peachy, more creamy, and a lot more, I would dare to say, more of a tropical, stone fruit and more tropical aromas and flavors, as opposed to this grassiness that we get out of it. But, you know, go back to your Semillon tasting from Hunter Valley that we had, and, you know, taste all the Chardonnays, maybe from Argentina, to see the difference. But be careful on the altitude. I think we are between 1,000 to 2,000 meters above sea level over here.
But it's a very difficult call, Thiago.
Yes, it's a difficult call, but consider the high acidity and non-aromatic grape variety. We were able to say Chardonnay, Semillon, and we were able to say Chenin Blanc. So bear in mind all the grape varieties that have some similarities, like a high acidity, moderated climate, moderated alcohol. So but it's even, practicing.
Even in Vale do Uco, they make acidity correction. I remember visiting one of the top wineries in Clos de los Siete, and we asked, "What are you adding to the wine?" Acid. So that's why it can be very tricky, you know.
Yeah, I think if you were to say Chardonnay, you wouldn't be wrong. But if the question somehow mention anything about traditional, about oh, I don't know, Semillon was first planted in Argentina, and then Chardonnay. So Semillon is the first international planted grape variety in Argentina, as opposed to
Yeah,
Chardonnay.
I didn't know that information. So
yeah, by the time you are in D3, you should have this information. Okay.
Thiago,
Mm.
I did a course from UOFA, and Semillon wasn't talked with a traditional white grape variety in Argentina.
Mm.
But it's on the list. It's on their list, definitely.
I mean, it's not a fashionable grape variety. There's no many reasons to talk about it. There is a tradition.
Sorry.
Go on,
is this biodynamic? Because usually the Michelini do all this biodynamic.
Yeah, I think they are organic. I think they are 100% organic, the grapes. So yes, Poliana, this is one of the main traditional white grape varieties that it was actually planted all over the world. You know, they all focus on Bordeaux grape varieties, so Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and Semillon was for sure one of them all over the world. In some countries, it didn't work well, but then it became out of fashion and is going into fashion now as we speak. Especially in Argentina, not necessarily in Chile. So you won't see many producers in Chile talking about Semillon, but you see a lot of producers in Argentina talking about Semillon.
It's interesting.
That's an important call.
Okay, thank you, Thiago.
You're welcome. Gabriel, you're saying?
You mentioned Botrytis.
On the second wine.
Because of, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because of this sort of orangey skin aroma. And I usually get this sort of orangey skin aromas from botrytis affected wines, white wines. So I usually get one of the aromas, but usually that comes with honey and many other sweet aromas, which I didn't get it here. That's why I hope that if I was on the MW exam, I would go into, okay, that I can link with winemaking style. Not just that, but many other aromas such as the VA, for example.
But once a producer gets Botrytis on his grapes, we'll probably make some sweet wine, not a dry one.
Yeah, I mean, you do get, think of Germany, you do get a dry Trockenspätlese with Botrytis affected, but the wine is dry, and they usually call it gold capsule. So yeah, you can have a dry, tiny little bit Botrytis affected and make it dry. So shall we go for our second wine?
I just answering Cecilia, these producers organic. They have the three non-aromatic varieties in the same style: Chardonnay, Chenin Blanc, and Semillon.
Do they make Chenin Blanc as well as?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, good to know. So I'm glad I picked the right one. We picked the right one. Okay, so our second wine. So this is it's the first time I'm tasting it. It's called Blanco de Rulo. It's a Muscatel, or actually is Muscatel de Alejandría. Vino sin filtra, so non-filtered, and Centenary Vines, 2019. It's coming from Secano Interior, so it's a Bio, further south. And it's a white wine made from Muscatel. 2018. That's quite orangey, that's quite floral, that's quite...
When was it produced?
It was 2019, so it's a quite young wine, although I don't think it's a wine suitable for that aging. I don't know whether any one of you can go online and search more about this wine, or both of them. But it has this sort of a naturalness to it, especially coming from further south, Chile. What's the alcohol level? Because I was quite... I think, Georgie, you are quite right. The alcohol here is low, is 11.5. I think it's considered low. Whereas I was on 12, so I thought it was quite medium. You're right, saying it was low alcohol wine. So it's important from a producer, from an importer called La Vineria. They are quite specialized into natural wines and low intervention, no sulfur, that sort of thing.
This is the same one that's Tito de Rulo, right? Same guy that does that. That kind of a trendy thing that everybody likes, that yucky stuff.
And when you read about the history of Chile, the first wines were there by the how do we say the missionaries, the church guys, you know, and they had Muscatel as one of the main varieties, just like a Pays and other varieties. So that Muscatel was one of the major white grape varieties that they planted there. That has this sort of a lychee, floral, peachy, and high acid, which we do planted some of Muscatel here, but our Muscatel is slightly different. And Muscatel de Alejandría does has this sort of a peachy and lychee and sometimes grapey aromas that we pick it up. And it's still high acid wines. And that's made in a more, I wouldn't say traditional way. I mean, you could say that, you know, skin contact is a traditional way. I think this wine is rather more of a trendy, modern, perhaps post-modern winemaking style, if I may say so. But it's still, I guess it's Asian food it is, and I guess it's non-filtered. Well, non-filtered is already there on the label. But skin contact, I think, for at least 30 days, you know, a month, I think it's part of how they make the wines. And if we were to talk about quality-wise and premiumness, I think that the first wine is way more premium, rather, you know, like a $25 to $30 bottle of wine. And the second wine is more like a easy entry level, you know, let's sell it, let's make money out of it. So more of a $8 to $10. That's where they are. That's where they should sit with regards to price. And consumer, again, the first wine would appeal to traditional consumers, and the second wine would appeal for this new generation of organic, natural, and, you know, there are no barriers, no rules to them. There's no, how can I say, no benchmark. So if they like it, they like it, you know. And there are a lot of things to like about this wine. It's aromatic, so it's easy for you to perceive aromas on it. It's there on your face, high acid, refreshing, easy to drink. But if you pay attention on many other things, the complexity that you get and the beautiness that you get on the first wine is totally different than the second wine. So it takes one more knowledge to appreciate the first wine, and it takes someone more adventure into the wine category to enjoy the first wine, because it's easy for you to be pleased. If you're from a beer guy, you pick up the aromas and you go, yeah, you know, I can comment on the wine. So, but again, to sell for a specialized consumer, a more educated consumer, you need someone explaining the wine so you don't go wrong on it. Any questions about the second wine or the first one? No? Okay. So I hope you enjoyed the first wine and the second. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. tasting a red wine and a white wine, and I hope you, keep yourself healthy and away from the crowd. Wear mask, and I'll see you soon. Thank you very much for tonight. Goodbye.
Thank you, Thiago.
Thank you all. Um abraço.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.